Deep in international waters, a growing armada of commercial ships is crashing through the waves undetected. They don't broadcast their names, locations, or cargo. This visualization maps out what experts call the shadow fleet. Since 2022, this hidden network has more than doubled in size. Today, it numbers over 1,300 vessels, accounting for roughly 17% of the entire global tanker fleet. Their primary objective is economic evasion. Following the invasion of Ukraine, Western powers imposed a strict $60 per barrel price cap and extensive export bans on Russian crude oil. These ghost ships exist to bypass those specific rules, carrying embargoed fuel to buyers willing to ignore the sanctions. This operation is a synchronized state-backed maritime network designed to sustain Moscow's wartime economy against continuous Western financial pressure. To see how they pull this off, make sure to subscribe to the global Warwatch network as we track the hidden mechanics driving the world's most secretive fleet. The operation begins on paper with the Gray Fleet. Rather than hiding physically, these operators hide legally. They build a labyrinth of overseas shell companies to create layers of bureaucratic distance between the ship and its true owners. The scale of this corporate deception is significant. Recently, investigators uncovered a $90 billion Russian oil smuggling ring operating out of Dubai. They traced dozens of seemingly independent companies, working from different physical addresses, back to a single shared private email domain. Once the corporate veil is established, the ships engage in a practice known as flag hopping. To avoid scrutiny from strict regulators, a vessel will repeatedly change its official country of registration, flying the flags of jurisdictions with lax enforcement, like Panama or Liberia. By constantly shuffling paperwork and national colors, these ships paralyze coastal enforcement. Without definitive proof of a ship's true origin or ownership, international authorities have little legal grounds to intercept or detain them. When legal loopholes aren't enough, operators turn to the dark fleet and deploy active digital deception. The most common tactic is intentionally disabling their automatic identification system, or AIS, transponders, allowing immense cargo ships to go dark on global tracking monitors. This electronic invisibility enables a risky maneuver. Far off the coast, these dark ships conduct ship-to-ship transfers. They tether themselves side by side in the open ocean to pump millions of gallons of sanctioned oil into clean ships, obscuring the cargo's illicit origins. Other vessels use a more aggressive technique called spoofing. Instead of turning off their trackers, they manipulate their AIS to broadcast fake GPS coordinates, projecting a phantom location miles away from their actual physical position. The Russian tanker Bella 1 utilized this strategy to evade capture. By broadcasting a web of false location data, the ship managed to resist boarding and led a U.S. Coast Guard cutter on a grueling 18-day chase across the Atlantic Ocean. AIS was designed to keep sailors safe and prevent collisions. The Dark Fleet has adapted that safety technology into a tool for geopolitical evasion. This map shows the supply lines carrying that smuggled oil. With European markets closed, heavily discounted Russian crude found new customers, flowing directly into refineries across India and China. But the trade routes are fracturing. The United States recently intensified its economic sanctions targeting specific Russian oil majors. Fearing they would lose access to the U.S. banking system, independent Asian refineries abruptly paused their Russian purchases. At the same time, India signed a sweeping free trade agreement with the European Union. In exchange for this economic partnership, India actively curtailed its reliance on Moscow, dropping its Russian crude oil imports to a 3-year low. The loss of buyers created a massive logistical backlog. Right now, over 140 million barrels of Russian crude oil, worth roughly $3 million, are trapped out at sea, sitting on idling tankers with nowhere to dock. The ships themselves can evade radar and spoof their locations. Yet by applying financial pressure to the end buyers, Western powers have managed to freeze a significant portion of this covert supply chain. The Shadow Armada relies almost entirely on aging, poorly maintained ships. A staggering 96% of the active crude oil tankers are between 15 and 30 years old, past the threshold where international rules require enhanced safety inspections. Compounding this structural decay is a financial hazard. Up to 80% of the fleet operates without recognized international insurance. If one of these ships crashes, the owners can vanish, leaving coastal nations to pay for the cleanup. In late 2024, 2 aging Russian tankers broke apart during a storm, spilling up to 8,500 metric tons of heavy fuel oil into the Black Sea. Shortly after, the tanker Aventin lost control near Germany while carrying 100,000 tons of crude, narrowly avoiding another catastrophe. This crumbling infrastructure transforms these ships into ticking environmental weapons. They threaten the coastlines of compliant nations with lasting ecological and financial damage. Beyond the environmental risk, the Shadow Fleet functions as a covert fleet in being. Russia uses these vessels to conduct military missions under the guise of commercial shipping. In late 2024, a shadow tanker known as the Eagle S dragged its anchor off the coast of Finland. It caught and severed the Estlink 2 power cable connecting Finland to Estonia, an incident European investigators suspect was an act of intentional sabotage. Monitoring these ships carries the constant threat of open conflict. When a French NATO patrol aircraft tracked Ghost Fleet movements in the Baltic Sea, it was aggressively intimidated by a Russian S-400 ground-to-air missile system, which painted the plane with a direct radar lock. Traditional maritime law is struggling to contain a network that physically adapts to every new restriction. These ships move from smuggling oil to disrupting critical infrastructure while remaining nearly impossible to hold accountable. How do you think the international community should handle this ghost fleet? Let us know in the comments. And if you want to keep tracking global security threats, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the Global Warwatch Network. Thanks for watching.